WrestleMania. I mean, that has absolutely flown by. I can't believe it's been a week. So it has been a week since WrestleMania, and yeah, I'm very much looking forward to tonight's show. Obviously, last week there was a lot of disappointment. I think a lot of people were expecting surprises and a lot of things along those lines because, of course, last week was the Raw after WrestleMania, so it would make sense that we would get something, but seemingly not. The best we got was the return of the Viking Raiders. Obviously, we got to see Charlotte as well. Charlotte full-on heel, and that's it, pretty much. And Retribution attacked Drew McIntyre. So this week, we've got Asuka versus Charlotte, a match that we've seen many times before, but a match that always delivers. So I don't mind that. That's all right. Should be quite interesting to see those two going at it. We've also got Drew demanding answers. So Drew McIntyre wants MVP to explain himself, wants to know what's going on with T-Bar, what's going on with Mace. You might remember last week they attacked Drew. I'm just hoping they take the masks off them. I'm hoping that they put them into suits. I definitely don't want them going around being T-Bar and Mace. So hopefully we get, something a bit better than that. And we've also got, obviously, Firefly Funhouse. They haven't announced it, in all fairness, but I'd be stunned if we don't get one. And Alexa's Playground. So there's quite a few things going on there. We don't know what's next for, like, Randy Orton. There's still some feuds that we need to establish. I mean, is Bray done with Randy now? So if so, what's Randy going to go on to do? And it's going to be quite interesting to see, just kind of what the next part of these stories are going to be. Harry Richards Music, shout out to you, says, Days, what's your thoughts on the European Super League? I think it's killed football, all for money and greed. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? That's one of the first questions that comes through. There'll be quite a few people, I should imagine, that haven't even heard about it. But let's cut a long story short on that. So basically, there's about 12 football clubs that want to start a brand new league. It's kind of come out of nowhere, although there have been rumblings about this for a while. But I don't think any of us believed these rumblings would actually come to anything. It's kind of like, these clubs are talking and they're thinking of starting a new league. You go, okay, yeah, sure. It's the kind of thing that, like, you could imagine people talking about over dinner, but nothing ever comes of it. Well, something has come of it. All the clubs have come out and said, yeah, we're going to do it. And everyone absolutely hates it. So Man United would still play in the Premier League, but they would start a brand new league with all the big European teams on a Wednesday. And it's all kicking off, man. It's all kicking off. Like, you think that wrestling is wacky and wild. You should see what's going on in football right now. So, they've turned around and said, okay, well, if you're going to go off and start this new league, then you're going to be out of the Premiership. You're going to be out of the FA Cup. You're going to be out of the League Cup. Any of your players won't be allowed to play in the World Cup. They just proper will deduct your points and all this and... yeah, fine you. The Prime Minister's come out and spoke about it. Like, it is huge. So, I've got to admit, right, I don't want to spend long on this because obviously we're a wrestling channel. But I do want to talk about it because it is there's no way we can ignore this. It's the news right now in the UK. I don't know if it's a big deal in America or Canada, but it is the news over here. Because it's huge. I mean, Man United, Tottenham, Man City, they might all be leaving the Premiership. And they might be none of their players might be going to the Euros this summer. It is huge news. I'm not going to say anything that I don't think anyone else has said. I'm dead against it. I'm a fan of the Champions League. I like the Champions League. I don't think we need to change that. I think, maybe the big teams playing against each other on a more regular basis might be nice. But I always think that, when you play against, the smaller teams, you're pretty confident of winning or whatever. But it just means that when you face the big teams, it's got that big feel. Do you know what I mean? If you get that every single week, it's not going to feel as special. It's like, okay, we've got Bayern this week. Next week, we've got Barcelona. A week after that, we've got whoever. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just becomes big match every Wednesday. I kind of feel then that doesn't it stop being a bit special? Like, where you're playing, I don't know, Braga, Club Bruges, something like this, but then you've got Barcelona. Then it's like, oh, I can't wait for next Wednesday. Like, I understand for the fans, I think you're getting too much of a good thing with this new league. I think also, like, you know, it could rip everything apart. There's nothing I can say that hasn't been said. I'm just stunned it's gone this far. And just to wrap up on this subject, a load of people have walked away from, like, their positions in UEFA. So, like, Ed Woodward has turned around and he's left UEFA, and which is huge because that's him going, yeah, all right, see you later. And he's gone. He was, like, head of or on the strategy board at UEFA. He's actually resigned today. So, and Man United have pulled out of the ECA, which is the European Club Association. So, even today, after all this backlash, steps are still being taken to head towards this. They're not backtracking. How are they looking? Like, the whole of the UK right now is, like, blowing up. It's like the Prime Minister's getting involved. It's one of the biggest things to ever happen to football. It's absolutely huge. And they're not backtracking. They're still going that way. So, yeah, man, I could do 2 hours on this subject. Easy. There's so much to talk about on it, but this is a wrestling channel. I don't want to spend much longer on it, but wow. I just can't believe that it's actually been announced and they're still heading towards it after everything that's gone. There's no way this happens. No way it happens. It can't. There's no way that it happens because the players will just refuse to play. The fans won't watch it and the players will refuse to play. So there's no way it happens, but it doesn't seem to be stopping, even though there's no way it happens. So, Joaquin said, do you think I'm a little obsessed with Retribution? So Anna Dawes as well. What a day Anna's had in the wacky world of football. So Jose Mourinho was fired, which is her manager. We've got all this Super League stuff, which Tottenham is a part of. Anna, feel free to share your thoughts. Warsaw Till I Die says Super League out. I know, man. I know. I gotta tell you, I'm right now. I'm sitting here thinking, we've got to talk wrestling. It's a wrestling channel. It's not fair to people that don't watch football. We really need to get back on track. But there is so much to talk about on this subject, and people are so passionate about it. Like, I'm sure people will understand. We've spent a couple of minutes just throwing it around, but yeah, it's madness, man. It is madness. I knew we would touch on it at some point. I didn't expect it to be the first topic of conversation, but yeah, my thoughts are it doesn't happen. Hello, big boy Dally. Shout out to you, buddy. Joaquin, yes, I think you are. I think you are absolutely 100% obsessed with Retribution, and we'll see what they say tonight. Wayne Garland said, Days, are you glad that Funhouse Bray is back? Yes and no. I'm glad that Funhouse Bray is back. I'm glad that the Funhouse was good last week. I am looking forward to this week's episode. But the no part is because I think I'm going to be betrayed. I really think he's getting my hopes up. He's going to bring me back. I'm going to start singing his praises again. I'm going to be like, do you know what? This is all right. And I'm going to be into it. And we're all going to be like, oh, yeah, we're back. It's all good again. And it's like, yeah. And then something's going to happen. And it's going to be supernatural, or it's going to be cringe. And then I'm just going to be like, oh, it's going to break my heart. So my concern is that it's all just setting me up for a fall. So I don't know. I'm still... what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, if I like it, I'm going to say I like it. If I don't like it, I'm going to say I don't like it, right? I'm going to do as I've always done. But I'm also going to keep a bit of a distance. At the moment, it hurt me. He hurt me. I know people say that, I'm the one in the wrong here. You should go with it. It's pro wrestling. It's meant to be entertainment. Doesn't matter if it's supernatural, blah, 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 right? But that doesn't change the fact that I feel betrayed. It doesn't change the fact that he's wronged me and that he hurt me. And I gave him my heart and I gave him my trust. And look at how he treated me. So, fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Shame on me. So, I'm going to keep a little bit of a distance for now. But if I like it, I will say I like it. So, yes and no, Wayne. Yes and no. Right. I'm trying to get through these super chats. Super chat. Oh, Anna. Anna Dawes said, no fan should be surprised. It's only what happened when they set up the Premiership 2-tier elite football. Oh, do you know I am, though? Because I don't know. I will be the first to admit that my knowledge on football history is not brilliant. But I started watching around the start of the Premiership. But by the time I got into it, the Premiership had already begun. So I don't know how the Premier League actually started, whose idea it was, blah, 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 blah. I was under the impression that it was just the FA that just wanted to revamp it and have something to sell to Sky. Like, yes, of course, the Premiership was created for money. But I don't think it was any of the clubs that was driving that. This one feels different because this is the clubs. Like, this has all been created by 12 clubs. 12 clubs have got together and gone, shall we do our own thing? Or, which, to my knowledge, has never happened in, like, European football before, or not that I'm aware of. I'm sure it might happen, like, in football somewhere, do you know what I mean? But not in, like, European top-level football, where they just go off and start their own league. Like, it's so strange. So strange. I'm stunned by it. I'm stunned. And it came out of nowhere as well. I keep saying it came out of nowhere, but you've heard rumblings for a while. But then, like, right, we're hearing there's going to be an announcement. What? Sorry, what? And I think we were all like that, weren't we? Weren't we all a bit like, hang on, what? An announcement on what? What? It's huge. Huge. And we thought 2020 was bad. Welcome to 2021, where now football is dying. So brilliant. Luke's Wrestling World says, I'm massively angry with Super League. I'm Chelsea fan. Yeah. What do you say? I feel the same. Because if it goes ahead, United will suffer. I mean, I'm a United fan, and it will be the same for Chelsea as well. You know, we'll suffer big fallout. It could be the players don't go to the World Cup. It could be that we are deducted points. It could be that we get relegated from the league, the Premier League, and we go down to like Division 1 or even lower. It could be we're kicked out of the leagues altogether. I mean, what do you do then? Would they have to start their own league? Would there be a rival league then? I mean, all of it, we're kind of getting into rugby league, rugby union kind of. I know they're slightly different sports, but it's basically rugby. So now we're like starting to have like the Premier League and the Super Premier League. And it's just awful. It's just awful. Awful. So I definitely feel your pain, Luke's Wrestling World. Wayne Garland said, would you say it's going to be like old Bray that we see? Well, we've all got older. So, yeah, I mean, it is going to be an older Bray. There's no way of stopping that. He can be as supernatural as he wants, but he ain't stopping Father Time. But do I think it'll be like the Bray from like that we first saw? Well, I hope so. I mean, I want to go back to that grey area. I want to go back to where it worked for everyone. I've said this time after time after time. I kind of feel like, he can do stuff like The Undertaker did that you can explain. If you want to explain it, you can find an explanation. So it doesn't have to be supernatural, but easily you can just say, yeah, that was supernatural. So, like, it works for everyone. Whereas with what Bray had been doing, it was supernatural. They were presenting his character as being a supernatural character. You can't change a tire mid-match, like without the character having powers of some kind. So yeah, I would love to get back to where we were because I think it was the best for everyone. Certainly, I was more on board. Of course, I was a big fan. And it all ended up losing me, but yeah, it's something that I ain't got no problem with getting back to it, getting back to appreciating it. I mean, obviously you want to watch these shows to enjoy them, so that's what I want to do. I want to sit down, I want to, do the fan theories and chat with you guys about it, get lost in it all again, but just can't do that when it's like supernatural because you can't really have any theories when it comes to supernatural stuff because it's just like, well, I don't know, perhaps it was all a dream. Perhaps, I don't know, perhaps during the match, he's just going to fly away. Like, if you can do anything, then that's always been my problem with it. So I hope it is going back to how it was, Wayne. Right. Hayden, shout out to you, buddy. Hayden said, Days, how are you today, my friend? I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm good. I'm feeling pretty good. It's been a manic few weeks. Last week, obviously, we was coming out of WrestleMania. The week before, we were going into WrestleMania. We had the first Tuesday night NXT, AEW on its own on a Wednesday. Like, there was some changes that happened as well. Obviously, we had the Jake Paul fight on Saturday, and a big shout out to everyone that joined us for that. Really appreciate the support, as always. And we've said, like, it's so important that those kind of things do well for the channel because the channel is literally built on those big shows. We've got one more big show this Saturday. I don't know when the next one is after that, if I'm being honest. But I knew that we had like 3 weeks in a row of big shows. So we had WrestleMania, we had the Jake Paul fight on Saturday, and we've got UFC 261. UFC 261, absolutely huge this Saturday. 3 title fights. It's going to be absolutely awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. One of, if not my favorite fighter, is going to be on the show. Thug Rose Namajunas, in action, trying to win the title from Zhang Weili. So really looking forward to that fight in particular. Looking forward to the whole card. Main event, Usman versus Masvidal 2. Obviously, they fought last year at Fight Island, but Masvidal came in lastminute.com. So he is now going to go and try and, after, a proper camp, try and win the title, the welterweight title. So, yeah, really excited for that. So I'm good, thank you. I'm kind of looking forward to After Raw, to be honest. Looking forward to Raw, but After Raw is actually going to be the first time that I'm going to be able to sit down and just go, whoo, just take a breather. Because even yesterday I was filming and I don't know if you saw, but the UFC figures came through. And do you remember I was saying there was something in the box? I was saying the other day, I've had a box come through and I think it's from Mattel. It wasn't, it was from Jazzwares. And it was those 4 figures, UFC figures. I got the email and they were like, love the stuff, love the channel. We know that you do figure stuff. We know that you're into UFC. Wanted to see if you'd do some work with us and, thought that you might be interested in looking at these. And, well, the answer is yes, of course I am. So they must have just had a quick look to see if I hadn't already done a video on it or something. I don't know. But yeah, brilliant. Yeah, really. And honestly, and I'm not just saying this because, I mean, they would never find out whatever I've got to say inside the middle of a stream, right? So but they genuinely do look a lot better in person. I the Amanda Nunes one before, I've said I'm not sure about it. I've always liked the Ngannou, but I remember saying the Amanda Nunes, I'm not sure. It is better in person. So in person, having it in my hand, I was a lot more impressed. And they're cool. Everything I said in the video is straight up legit. Yeah, it's got a nice weight to it. I think the face scans look better in person. The Ngannou is incredible. The only problem with the Ngannou is it doesn't come with any accessories, but whatevs. That's UFC. If you saw the review, then hopefully you found it informative. Yeah, it's good. I want to get the other ones now because I've been really debating whether to buy them or not. And I don't think you'll get them on the shops here. So it's not like I can do a toy hunt for them because I don't think they're being sold anywhere in the UK apart from like UFC shop online. So I really want to get the missing ones. I need Connor, Adesanya, and the normal Masvidal. And I really want the normal Masvidal because it comes with the BMF belt. So that's enough about that. So far, in the first 20 minutes of this wrestling stream, we've probably spent about 10 minutes talking about football, 10 minutes talking about UFC, and about 2 minutes on wrestling. But honestly, if you came here for organisation, then you definitely came to the wrong place anyway. Bobby Francis, shout out to you, buddy. Bobby said, Days, hope all is well. Did you manage to catch the Stone Cold documentary last night? It was incredible. Do you think WWE will ever be that popular again? Well, okay, there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, no, I didn't see the documentary, but I did see the reaction to it, and I saw that it was, as you said, incredible. Universal praise online. It was trending as well. But I haven't seen it because I don't have A&E. I think that's the channel it was on. We don't have that in the UK, or if we do, it's like buried away somewhere in like, you know, channel 776 or something. And even then, I wouldn't imagine the schedule would be the same. So, to my knowledge, there wasn't a way for me to watch it. I'm sure I'd be able to find it somewhere. I'm sure it's up somewhere, maybe on Watch Wrestling or something like that. So I will see it eventually. But yeah, no surprises that it's great. I remember when they did something similar with Andre the Giant. Do you remember HBO did an Andre the Giant one? That got incredible praise. I was desperate to watch that as well, and I did manage to see that in the end. So yeah, really do want to watch it. Great that you enjoyed it as well. And do I think wrestling will ever be that popular again? It's difficult, isn't it? Because even then, I would argue, right? And people can say that I'm wrong, but even in the Attitude Era, I would argue that people didn't know that it was scripted, right? I would argue that there'd be a good chunk that did, but I would argue that a lot of people, I don't even know if it's the majority, but I'd be feeling pretty comfortable it was the majority, still didn't know that it was scripted. So I think there's a good chunk of people that are getting caught up in it that just don't know. I mean, I think everyone knows now. The cat's out the bag now. And the problem is, during the Attitude Era, when you was going and watching Stone Cold standing up to his boss, like, I genuinely think there's people in the crowd that are watching that think this is really going down. I mean, I was fairly convinced that it was scripted at that point, but I hadn't seen any kind of confirmation of it. You got to remember, this is like early internet. Not everyone's got the internet at this point. I mean, we first got the internet in '99. So, I didn't get the internet until, I don't know, midway through the Attitude Era. So, where am I? It's sitting here in the UK. Where am I finding out that this is legit? I mean, I'm not getting the Observer here in the UK. So, I'm not getting that. If I go to the shops and I'm getting a magazine, well, what magazine am I getting? I mean, there might have been some obscure wrestling magazine that told you, like, that it was all scripted, but I don't know what it was, and I don't even know if it was being sold, so I've got no idea. Sitting here in the UK, I have no idea where you would actually find that out. It's probably in a book somewhere, but honestly, who's reading old wrestling books? I mean, the general public I really believe, still didn't know. I think that Brett screwed Brett, and Vince and that side of stuff. You know, Vince did come out and, you know, reveal things to a degree. But honestly, how many people saw that? And I just kind of feel like, and it was the internet that changed everything. I really think that we've got pre-internet and post-internet, which is why these past 20 years have been so interesting for wrestling. Because I think for the past 20 years, and I would argue since the Attitude Era, I think wrestling's really struggled to find its place. I think that it's tried a few things have worked. One of the big encouraging things was the fact that WrestleMania 28 was the biggest WrestleMania ever. The most bought WrestleMania ever is WrestleMania 28. That's only 9 years ago, right? So that's what, 2012, something along those lines. So that was and that was Rock Cena. So, and that people knew by that point. So I look at that and I do wonder. I look at that and I do think, if you get someone that's got the charisma of The Rock and someone that's built up as unbeatable like Cena, and then you collide them together, you could generate something. So will it ever be as big as it was? I don't want to say no, but I do think that it was a very special time. And I think it was the last time where more people doubted if it was real or not. And I really think that's a big, big factor. And I think that we're talking like that's really around the same time people are starting to get the internet, starting to get into people's homes. So I don't know. It's so difficult because could you find someone with the charisma of The Rock? Sure. I'm sure someone else will come along. And could you build someone up like Cena that connects with, kids in particular? Sure. Easily. Yeah. So I kind of look at all that and I think, well, yeah, if you had like, say, 4 of those guys, why couldn't you get that era going again? Like, if you just need people that people want to watch. I don't feel like we're anywhere near it, to be honest. I don't feel like we're anywhere near it. And I'm not sure WWE would even know how to get that back. If they did, they'd be doing it. So I think they're just having to wait for lightning to strike. But I'd like to think we could get back to that. But it's hard to say, isn't it? Because a lot of those fans might be into MMA now. A lot of them fans may have left. A lot of them fans that were watching Attitude Era might want something real and have moved to UFC. Don't forget, in the late 90s, UFC was nothing. UFC was in trouble. Like, they almost bought UFC in the early 2000s. Shane wanted to buy UFC in the early 2000s. So, but, UFC now is a bigger promotion. UFC is bigger than WWE. UFC sold for $4 billion, I think it was. And I think WWE makes roughly around that ballpark. So you could argue they're very close right now, but UFC's just constantly doing this, and it seems like WWE is on a bit of a decline. So certainly ratings-wise. So and look at like UFC can go to an arena and sell it out in seconds. WWE takes days, weeks. I think WrestleMania, was still had tickets on the day of the show. So you do look at that and compare it to UFC that can sell out like that. And it just shows, I think UFC is the Attitude Era. I really do. I think it's moved over there. So, yeah, quite a lengthy answer for you. But and I suppose in a way, not really an answer. But I do think that I think there's definitely potential. I'd hate to sit here and say no, there's no way it would happen because honestly, who knows? Who knows who's going to come along? Imagine being sat there in 1995, right? Imagine watching WWE in 95 and saying, in like 3 years' time, this is going to be kicking off, right? And you'd be like, what, with Mantar? What are you on about? What do you mean it's going to be kicking off? With fake Diesel. Like, how, I don't know. And it's like, it's because Stone Cold, Rock, and everyone came along, didn't they? Well, who's to say that we don't have, like, those people out there that just haven't joined yet? Or maybe they're here now? I mean, don't forget, when Stone Cold first came in, he came in as the ringmaster. So, you could have someone right now. Look at Becky. Look at what Becky achieved. Do you know what I mean? Becky got to quite a good height, didn't she? Do you remember when she had that? It's that moment for me when Becky's got the blood all on her face at just before Survivor Series. She's facing Nia. No, who's she facing? Ronda. at Survivor Series. She's standing there. That, to me, is one of the most iconic moments of, like, this generation. I think if you're going to go and tell the story of WWE, there's no way you're not including that image. I think it's so powerful. So, yeah, I mean, she was everywhere. Do you know what I mean? She got to quite a height. So I just wonder if, like, you know, they could have built some other people up around her to feel as big. And I suppose in a way you got Ronda, and I don't know, it felt like there was something there. Not the Attitude Era. I mean, don't get me wrong, but you need a spark. I don't even know that we've got a spark right now. So yeah, there's a long way to go. Great question, Bobby. Great question. Joaquin said, and all they have to do is make the show better. Right, I want to make sure I've not missed any super chats, because that was long, man. That was a long answer. Because if there's one thing I love, it's talking. Right, yes, good. Good. Hasib said, Days, have you heard that Mia Yim and Shane Thorne have gone to SmackDown? I think Shane Thorne could go back to NXT. I haven't heard about Shane Thorne. I did hear about Mia Yim. I don't know if she's going to be Reckoning or what she's going to be, but yeah, my two notes, just so you, I mean, not that I have to prove it, but my two notes I've got next to no notes this week. But literally my two notes say Mia Yim to SmackDown, and I don't even know if you can see that. Oh yeah, you can. There we go. Reckoning to SmackDown, and Saray debuts on NXT. Asuka versus Charlotte. Drew demands answers from MVP, and a fresh start for the Funhouse. Those are my notes. That's it. There's not really much on there because there hasn't been much go down, actually. It's been relatively quiet for wrestling. I kind of feel that we got a lot in recent weeks. And of course, we had all those releases as well. So I kind of look at those releases and look at like a lot of the stuff that went down, and at WrestleMania and the fallout of that, and Viking Raiders coming back, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, just means past 24 hours hasn't been that crazy, which is fine. I've appreciated it. Do you know what I mean? A little bit of a breather for a moment. So we'll see what tonight has got in store. Right, let's go down. Days, I thank you for the stream today. It's keeping me sane because of the whole European Super League nonsense. Sahil, shout out to you, buddy. It won't happen. It can't happen. The fans are united against it. I've yet to see anyone say, yes, this is a good idea. I haven't seen anyone say it's a good idea. I haven't seen anyone say they're going to support it. And this only works, this Super League only works if people tune in and watch it. Do you know what I mean? If they're not going to tune in and watch it, then TV companies aren't going to pay for it. So, like, if the fans stay united against it, not only that, if the players turn around and say, well, we ain't playing, if the players are united as well in saying that they're not going to play because they don't want to be, you know, excluded from World Cups and excluded from European Championships and all this kind of stuff, how are they going to do this? How are they going to do this? They can't. There's no way they can do this. If the fans stay away and the players stay away, what have they got? 12 football grounds, that's it. And cameras. That's it. 12 football grounds and cameras. Now, could they use kids? Sure. But who's watching that? Who's tuning into that? This is meant to be the best versus the best. So it just won't work. I have no idea why they're still pushing forward with it. And actually, I wonder if they are, because I've seen a few little moments and a few little moves, but I wonder if, you know, if the reaction hadn't have been this strong, would we have seen more information about it? You know, would we have got like, I don't know, like proper statements, like proper announcements? Would we have got people standing there like Woodward giving interviews about it and all this kind of stuff? Like, you have to say that it has been quiet. Like, the clubs have just tweeted out a little something saying, yes, this is true. And then that's it. There hasn't really been much more than that. And then, as we said earlier today, I saw that Edward Woodard and I think Inter and Juventus and all the other clubs pulled out of the UCA. I think that's what it's called. No, the ECA, the European Club Association. So they pulled out of that. And that is significant. That means we don't want to be part of any European competitions. So they pulled out. So again, there are still steps being taken, but I just wonder if there would have been even more if it wasn't for this big backlash. So I'm still adamant that this isn't happening. Maybe it's denial, but I'm still adamant that it's not going to happen. Austin said, did you microwave one of your UFC figures? No, I wouldn't do that. No, because there's a good chance they'd beat me up. I'll do it with the wrestling ones because it's all scripted, but not the UFC ones. I'm not an idiot. Football is getting ruined. I hate football now, says Sonny. Days, do you think we'll ever get an all-women's WWE brand, says Anthony? I would actually really like that. I would really like that. I remember when we got the brand split again. Do you remember, like, because we didn't have the brand split before. We had it, and then it stopped, and then it came back again. I think it came back about 2016. And so we've had the brand split back for a good few years now. But I remember when it came back, I said I'd put all the women onto Raw and I'd put all the tag teams onto SmackDown because I didn't feel at the time that the women's roster was deep enough to warrant them being on two shows. I've got nothing against women's wrestling. I really like women's wrestling. I want to see it grow, and I'm a supporter of it, right? So I don't want to get the wrong messages out there. I love Belair's moment. I always thought she should have main evented WrestleMania. Big fan of Asuka. Gutted about Billie Kay. Like, I'm a supporter of women's wrestling. But I don't think people would argue that, certainly a few years ago as well, it wasn't that deep. The women's roster just wasn't that deep. I mean, even right now, it's not as deep as what the men's roster is. So whilst it's still growing and whilst it's still developing, I thought it made more sense to put all the women onto one show and put all the tag teams who have got a similar issue. I mean, the tag division is horrific, right? Maybe it's getting a little better now. I mean, we just had the Viking Raiders come back. Obviously we've got Dirty Dogs. They've been together for a little while now, and they're tag champs. I've got the Street Profits. I mean, we should get the Usos back as well soon. So I kind of feel, but even though, right, I kind of feel that tag team wrestling would really benefit by just having one division, and I think the women would benefit from having one division because they're not very deep divisions. It seems crazy to me that we've got two women's world champions when there's probably about, eight women on each show, something like that. Maybe a bit more if you include those. Obviously, you've got the tag titles now. But a few years ago, I really thought that they should have had all the women on one, tag teams on both. Maybe you'd look at it now and go, nah, it's all right now. Now you can just about support two, which is fine. But because they have grown a bit. Obviously, we've got the 4 horsewomen, and we've started to add a bit more from NXT over the years. So we might be in a better place now. But I do think that a women's only show would be really, really good. I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't do that, just, on the network on a Thursday kind of a thing. Certainly where they're not doing house shows now. There's nothing stopping them from doing that, really. So, and I think it'd be a great success, and it'd be a wonderful way of showing off some of the talent we don't always see. So, yeah, I'd be a big supporter of it. I'd really enjoy it, actually. You could have, some kind of a talk show segment. You could really have, some talent get highlighted that we don't normally see or don't normally get spotlights on them. All women announcers and all this kind of stuff would be great. I'd be really into it, yes. Woodward and the Glazers are money-grabbing parasites. There's a protest at Old Trafford on Saturday, and I will be attending 110%. That's good. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I think it just needs to be made very, very clear that fans are not going to watch. I think that's all you need to do, because I don't think you're going to change Ed Woodward's mind. He's had so much hate against him. He's so used to Woodward out and Glazers out and that kind of stuff. I don't think it does anything. Going there and saying those kind of things won't do anything. But what you do want to make clear is, I would personally, if I was going, I'd have a sign that said something like, TV companies, do not support this. We are not watching, right? Something like that. It's the TV companies. It's the networks that you want to target. You want them to know, don't buy into this, because we are not watching it. Like, if you're going to pay billions to show this, you might as well just throw those billions away, because we are not supporting this. We are not watching this. This is not a product that we want. And honestly, that's probably a better way of doing it than, Woodward out, Glazers out, blah, 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 blah. We've been there many times. Fightful says Vince is currently deciding who to switch brands, says Anthony. Edward Brown said, did you see that I called out Jake Paul? Good luck with that. The bigger question is, did Jake Paul see that you called out Jake Paul? The Moldy Spoon said, I think social media is ruined wrestling. Mm-hmm. Too many people on there are sheep. They don't have their own opinions. They go by what popular people say. It's almost become a trend to dislike WWE these days. You see, now I have to disagree a little. Maybe you're seeing things that I'm not seeing, but I can't say that I see examples of people just agreeing with others because that's like the cool thing to do. I can't say that I really see it. What I see is people with opinions being quite passionate about them, sticking to them, and they're just being constant arguments on social media. I think social media has ruined it in a way, because when I used to watch wrestling, never when I was a kid, never did I sit there and think, why have they done that? Why have they booked that, right? The heat now, the anger now, the upset now goes to Vince and creative, right? Why have they booked this? Why have they done this? The anger goes to Vince and it goes to the creative team. It doesn't go to the heel, right? Back in the day, when the heel beat up the babyface, everyone hated the heel. So, if you was to try and do WrestleMania 7 now, and you had Sergeant Slaughter come out, dressed as an Iraqi sympathizer, it wouldn't be Slaughter that's getting the death threats like he was in 91. There was a war going on, USA and Iraq, and your main bad guy is siding with Iraq. Like, you can imagine how well that went. So, Sergeant Slaughter was getting death threats. They were having to monitor the house and all this kind of stuff. It was wild, right? It was crazy. And obviously Hogan beats him at WrestleMania 7. Hogan sticking up for America against the Iraqi sympathizer. Well, if that happened now, people would be hating Vince and they'd be hating the creative department, wouldn't they? So, I kind of feel that social media has ruined it that way, because now the cat is out the bag. The heat is going the wrong places. It's hard to build up a heel now. It's hard to build up a heel. It's really, really hard to build up someone that you really passionately hate, because anything they do is all largely down to the creative team. And I don't know, it's just kind of, it's in a weird place. It's in such a weird place. I think wrestling is just a mess, to be perfectly truthful. I think you can go out there. I think the best thing to do with wrestling is keep it as simple as possible. Things like Volta versus Ciampa. It's just really, you know what I mean? He goes out there, they chop each other hard. It's brutal. They leave marks on each other. You watch it and you really feel it and you go, oh. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's really impressive. His matches always deliver. It's a form of entertainment, and you don't overthink anything. But like, I think where you start to have like run-ins and heel turns and all this kind of stuff, that's where you start to go, why have they done that? And why are they going that way? And it's all different to how it was. But as a kid, I would never think those things. You'd always think, why has the wrestler done that? Because you believed in it, or I did. And I miss that. I definitely miss that. But I can't say that I go on social media and I see people just agreeing with people. I don't know. Do you mean like Meltzer? People hating on WWE because Meltzer hates them. People hate Meltzer. I don't know. Like maybe Jim Cornette has managed to turn people against AEW, but saying that, it's not affected the ratings, has it? It's not affected the ratings. Their ratings have stayed exactly where they've always been. So, I don't know. Days Lily is a female Danhausen. John says porn has got better storylines than WWE. They really need to hire someone from the porn creative team. Trust me, if this was the Attitude Era, they would have. Robin said, I wish casuals turned into more Volta matches. Basti says, no one. But WWE, when they tweet tonight on SmackDown, Universe Champion Adam Cole go one-on-one with... Joke is they use a lot of hashtags and ats. Right, got you. Yeah, they do. I could pose anatomically correct mannequins in different positions. Shout out to you, William. Cancel the Super League created by the poor, stolen by the rich. Might have to start supporting Fulham for Tony Khan, says Daniel. Andrus says Mia Yim and Slapjack apparently trade to SmackDown. Wrestle with Andy, shout out to you, said, Days, I'm upset about how the writers on Frasier booked Niles for the last 2 seasons. Yeah. That's coming back, innit, Frasier? I love that show. I love that show. If anyone ever asks me what my favourite TV show is, Frasier is always the first thing that comes to mind. I can be in a bad mood and put an episode of that on and I just feel better straight after. I love that show. Do you know, one show that I've never got into, and I wish I could get into it, but I've never got into it. From Raw. I'm just trying to copy the chat and put the chat in. We have got some lag here. We have got some lag. Laggy lag. Say the show. Daisy's back. Okay, well, I might be back, but it looks like there is some lag. So I'm just going to have a look at this and see if we can get this working before we start. Okay.